the equalization fund. And I know Meru is a beneficiary, Kilifi, Mr. Speaker, and many other counties should benefit from equalization fund, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and therefore, even finally on the 50th point is on source revenue, Mr. Speaker, we must agree. The revenue potential, for example, of Nairobi is 63 billion. But when they collect 11 billion, 13 billion, they become excited. The revenue potential of Nandi is 800 billion. But when Sang collects 200 billion, it's to celebrate. Is it a case where a chicken lays an egg and makes a lot of noise as opposed to a cow which gives a lot of milk, Mr. Speaker? We must look at the own source revenue. For Nandi, we have multinational tea estates, land rates, land rent, among others, Mr. Speaker, so that we can ensure that we support, Mr. Speaker. But I want to challenge counties, and I want to warn governors. No governor is special. Even if you criticize the president, you are not special. We want to tell the governor of Trans Nzoia that he must be held accountable. However much he tries to politicize the issue, he must face the full wrath of the law, Mr. Speaker. And I want even to throw mind, Mr. Speaker, this country people should avoid bad manners. I want to thank Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan for calling out activists who wanted to go and disrupt the peace in Tanzania. In fact, should have detained and prosecuted them because they have taught this country bad manners, Mr. Speaker. These activists, they have taught our people to insult, to undermine, to lose respect to the leadership of this country, Mr. Speaker. Tanzania is a very peaceful country. And what President Samia Suluhu Hassan said, we should respect our countries, Mr. Speaker. There is mutual respect. And I hope as the activists run around East Africa trying to meddle in the internal affairs, they must be put to stop, Mr. Speaker. Because what business would you have to go and meddle in affairs of Tanzania? What business, Mr. Speaker? These activists, and I want to ask President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Mr. Speaker, of Tanzania, to be very careful because these activists are funded by enemies of Africa who want to destabilize the unity, the peace and tranquility of most African nations, Mr. Speaker. You saw even in the last Gen Z protest, Mr. Speaker, there were allegations that international donors were financing instability, Mr. Speaker, in this country using what we call international donors, Mr. Speaker. So I want to ask the President Samia Suluhu Hassan that in the spirit of East Africa, he should assist us to discipline some of these ill-behaved activists that have continued to destabilize Kenya, Mr. Speaker. The island of peace of Tanzania must be protected, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cherargei.
Anawafinya kabisa.
Senator Cherargei, can you relate what you are now discussing with the division of revenue bill? Can you relate the two? Because you
I'm trying to relate. What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, we need stability in Tanzania and in Kenya because there is balance of trade. We export and import. We get taxes. Then we build on the division of revenue, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I'm saying we should not disturb the peace and unity of Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. And ask Samia Suluhu Hassan afinya wakabisa.
There's a minute.
Mr. Speaker, these are very serious flaw in this House, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, this is on 105 in the statement of facts. Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the Senator of Nandi, who is a lawyer, to actually misinform the House and misinform the public on what informs the action of deportation of Kenyans from Tanzania, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, if you look at Article 104 of the EAC Common Market Protocol of 2015, it expressly says and guarantees the freedom of movement of service, labor, and goods within the East African region. If you look at the treaty, Mr. Speaker, that was established in 1999, Mr. Speaker, it allows the tenets of democracy to actually permeate in the region entirely, Mr. Speaker. How can Senator Cherargei allow the existence of those treaties, Mr. Speaker? This is something that must be condemned and is not right and could actually lead to reciprocation by Kenyans for other members, Mr. Speaker. So is it factual that that's the tenets of our democracy, Mr. Speaker, that dictatorship in Tanzania is exclusive to our dictatorship in the country?
Cherargei has heard you. Let him respond.
the Senator Eddie should withdraw and apologize. There is no dictatorship in Tanzania because they do elections regularly. Correct. So it is very wrong. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to answer point of order. And after.
1 minute?
Yes. So he must withdraw and apologize because Samia Suluhu has a president. She has been elected to be in that office alongside the late Magufuli. Number two, under the AC Treaty, it talks about goods and services. Martha Karua and other busybody activists are not defined as goods and services. Unless I got it, the Treaty of 1999.
Goods, services, and labor.
And which labor was a busybodies activist? The Martha Karua and Boniface were taking to Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. And NGO money and cloud chasing in TikTok and Facebook, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I submit and I pray that we go to mediation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I shall not be intimidated. These are people who are financed
Senator
by NGOs,
Boni.
Mr. Speaker. I will not be moved. If they have eaten NGOs money from Soros, Mr. Speaker, I should ensure.
Senator
He should
Cherargei,
withdraw.
you have finished. Assume your seat. Senator Mboni.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I think, however emotional we can become during debate, but we must uphold parliamentary language. Mr. Speaker, Mother Karua is an honorable member who has served this republic, not only in this house, but also in cabinet. And Mr. Speaker, Mother Karua was one of the engines behind the success of the promotion of the fast tracking of the East African community. Mr. Speaker, for the Senator of Nandi to call Mother Karua and Professor Willy Mutunga as busybodies should not reflect anywhere in the records of this House. You'll have
So
time.
what is out of order, Senator Boni Karua?
In fact, I'm on point of order.
Because you are now also trying to do a debate. So what is your point of order? Be specific.
Yes. The point of order is the Honorable Senator, in order to use unparliamentary language, and have specified calling distinguished Kenyans busybodies, is in order. Mr. Speaker, I demand that he withdraws and apologizes abundantly to William Mutunga, Professor, and Mother Karua. I would forgive him if he's talking about people like Boniface Mwangi. That's okay. But not these two characters, these distinguished Kenyans.
Yes, Senator Cherargei.
Mr. Speaker, I just say busybodies. People are busy. In fact, I am better than President Samia Suluhu Hassan, who say viumbe. In fact, I am better. I'm saying they are busybodies. What is their job description as at now? They are former, so, and we know what they are trying to achieve. These are activists who want to...
Senator Mboni Karua, your point of order is on standing under 122. Yes. 122, 1B. When a senator declines to retract use of unparliamentary language or declines to offer apologies, despite having been ordered to do so by the Speaker. So he becomes gross disorderly conduct. That is where now you are going to, and you know the consequences. We must respect the standing orders like the Bible.
Okay, okay.
So that we can
Mr. Speaker, with tremendous respect, because you are the chair of Cherargei, I withdraw and substitute. It's a respected house of decision among the Ameru community.
It's a
yes.
Council of Elders.
Council of Elders, it is recognized under the
one
Constitution.
of them actually divine.
And I was there.
Yes.
In fact, when I was there with you, the Cherargei went into a trance as you approached to address them. So I have every right to ensure that... Mr. Speaker, I withdraw the word busybody and good for nothing individuals, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Senator Olekina Rendama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report by the Committee of Finance and Budget in as far as their contribution to the Division of Revenue Bill. Mr. Speaker, as I seek your indulgence with my vocals, I want to remind this House that we've been here before. We've been here where we are supporting the report of our Committee on Finance and Budget and rejecting the proposed DORA from the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, if you're very keen to listen to the Finance and Budget Committee, the Finance and Budget Committee are telling us that the National Assembly is completely violating the Constitution. It is violating Article 202 that demands for revenue raised to be shared equitably. It is also violating the Constitution in the sense that they have received the audited financial statement from the Auditor General for the year 2024-2025, but they have refused to consider, meaning any funds which are being shared can never be shared equitably between the national government and the county government. Mr. Speaker, if we are relying on audited financial statement for the year 2019, 2020-2021, the only amount of money that can be proposed by the National Assembly to be shared among counties will only be about 14%. What does that tell us, Mr. Speaker? It tells us that all these new taxations, policies, which are being introduced by the government, are only going to hurt Kenyans more and create huge pending bills, where all these governors will be appearing before our committee of budgets, they'll be appearing before our oversight committees to answer questions as why they are not remitting their statutory deductions. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the undiscretionary expenditures alone amounts to a total of about 31 billion. The amount of money that we had proposed and we went through mediation back and forth for the last DORA was only going to be about 405 billion. But we were pushed down, even after those mediation, we were pushed down to a figure of about 387. Now, let's just be realistic. We have had an agreement between our party ODM and KK that we are going to endeavor to ensure that we send at least 450 billion to the counties. Where did we have this agreement? Because we are aware, we are alive to the fact that there are these undiscretionary expenditures that must be taken care of. Because if you are deducting money from an employee and you yourself as an employer are not able to remit the 30 billion that you have deducted because you do not have enough money to pay your pending bills or to introduce any other development, then what are you going to be doing? Mr. Speaker, sir, we are continuing to dig a deeper hole when it comes to an issue of our fiduciary responsibility. It is about time, Mr. Speaker, that we ask ourselves whether these debates and whether the position we take as a Senate is a position that we all understand, that we are fighting for our counties to be able to get money so that there are no pending bills, so that also they can be able to complete the cycle whereby you deduct statutory deductions, you remit them to allow the government to continue raising funds. Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest challenges that I see is that sometimes there is a huge disconnect. And I strongly believe that there is a time that we should, this House, the Committee of Budget of the National Assembly and the Committee of Budget of the Senate should actually sit together and try to make sense of the DORA. Before it comes here, we waste time, we debate, we try to drill some sense into how money should be divided using the Constitution. But we seem to be getting nowhere. We are trying to drill wisdom to the Committee of Budget of the National Assembly. That there's no way that you're going to come here and say that you are proposing to give counties 405 billion, yet alone. If you are to take these undiscretionary expenditures, like the housing levy, like the SHIF, like the NSSF, you know, like also other expenditures. You know, there's no way, this 31 billion, there's no way you can be able to support these counties. Even if you take the 387 plus the 31 billion, that gives you 418 billion. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to be candid enough that if we are supporting devolution, we do it with facts. We put facts on the table and we try to educate these people on the need to ensure that we maintain a fiduciary responsibility. Mr. Speaker, the reason why a lot of people blame the control of budget is because they don't read the Constitution. They don't read the laws. You know, we were here the other day arguing about money being sent to Nyamira County. And some of us were busy blaming the control of budget for releasing money to 2 different assemblies. Yet we have a law that all of us must read and understand. If you read Section 103 and Section 104 of the PFM Act, it is quite clear. It says 103 says establishment of the county treasury. 104 says that the head of the county treasury shall be the CC in charge of finance. And only the CC in charge of finance can be able to send requisitions to the control of budget. So we need to be clear here, because sometimes we talk, yet we don't have facts. Today, I want to demystify this issue of the division of revenue bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, this constitution, which all of us read on a daily basis, it's quite clear. If you go to Article 201, Article 202, in fact, Article 201 talks about a fiduciary responsibility. If you look at 201, Mr. Speaker, it says the principles, the following principles shall guide the aspects of public finance in the Republic. And I refer clearly to the public finance system shall promote an equitable society, and in particular, the burden of taxation shall be shared fairly. Revenue raised nationally shall be shared equitably among national and county government. And finally, expenditures shall promote the equitable development of the county, including by making special provision for the marginalized groups and other areas. Now, we talk about the equalization fund, Mr. Speaker. Equalization fund already, and there's a mistake in this report, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that when a report is tabled, we go through it and we look at it. We do not own, equalization fund is not owed 2.7 trillion. It is only owed 27 billion. So that should be corrected in this report. That is the first thing. Now, the Committee of Finance is proposing that the money which should be set aside for the equalization fund should be 9 billion shillings. Already, there's a debt of 26 billion. How are we going to resolve this debt? We are going to compound debt over debt. We need to be realistic. If we are not able to raise that money, in fact, this is where I differ with the Committee on Finance. Because if we already owed 26 billion, you are asking, what has been proposed is 7 billion. You are asking, saying, add an additional 2 billion. So 27 plus 7 is 34. If you add another 2, it's 36 billion. Yet, there is a sunset clause of this equalization fund. The Constitution is actually quite clear in terms of the equalization fund. I think it's Article 2, is it 204? 204, it talks about the equalization fund, and it sets a sunset clause. For 20 years. And that 20 years is lapsing very soon. So the question that I haven't had the Finance Committee responding to, or any of my colleagues, and I'll seek some wise counsel from my colleague, Senator Eddie, is that what happens if we don't amend the Constitution to be able to extend the time of the equalization fund, and the 20 years is coming to an end. What happened? Yet, the money has still not been paid. Is this money going to be in a fund which exists? Or is it going to be in a fund, or it's going to be in a fund that exists? So these are questions that we must ask ourselves diligently. Ask ourselves and see where is the problem and how are we going to resolve this problem. Then it comes to the issue of accountability, Mr. Speaker. We are all complaining that projects are stalling. You know, there are so many projects which the national government has initiated. And when it comes to the issue of Narok County, Mr. Speaker, I want to be very candid and very clear on this. There's an airport which is a responsibility between both the national government and the county government. And I applaud my county government of Narok and the Ministry of Transport because, of course, they have looked at issues to do with Article 187 of the Constitution in terms of a function which is for national government being undertaken by another level of government. And coming and saying, we need this service. If the national government cannot afford it, we, the people of Narok, who I consider ourselves very rich, can be able to afford to build the terminal. So these projects must be completed. You know, when you initiate the project, let's complete them. This is why I said the other day, the contractor, and I want to call upon the Ministry of Transport and KAA, please move to site, because you're not on the site. I was there 2 days ago. I'll be there again on Friday. I'll be a thorn in your flesh to make sure that these projects are completed. That is the only way we are going to be able to make sense. Mr. Speaker, sir, a couple of days ago, I listened to my colleague, Senator Kachwang, and he was raising a very valid point. And Mr. Senator Kachwang really asked a very simple question. He said, why is it that when governors are exiting, they start launching huge projects? They budget huge projects. And this is when the governor is exiting from serving a county for 10 years. When he's leaving, he now launches a big project which becomes a burden to the other incoming governor. In Narok, we had a similar problem with the hospital and the medical technical training college, which was officially opened by the president the other day. Save from that technical college, the hospital had to be taken over by the national government because it was a project that could not be managed by the county government of Narok. We had a similar case in Kakamega County, where the level 5 hospital, which was being built by the then governor Paranya, became, a white elephant project that could not be completed. So when it comes to the issue of accountability, when it comes to the issue of financial management, all of us, Mr. Speaker, must be alive to the fact that there are limitations. There are things that we can be able to do, and there are things that we cannot be able to do. If we are not alive to the fact that there are limitations, we will be unfair to the current and the future generations. People will commit suicide because their pending bills have not been paid, and yet there's nothing we are doing. We passed a motion here, but being implemented, it becomes a challenge. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we are talking about amending the Constitution, there are things that we've seen that do not work in this Constitution when it comes to financial management. There are a lot of companies that collect revenue on behalf of county governments. And since they are required by Section 109 of the PFM Act and our Constitution to be able to remit 100% of the money that they collect to the county revenue fund, for them to be able to bill for their services, whenever they bill for their services, they are not paid. So it creates a problem. So you want this person to raise money for you. But then when he has raised that money for you, you don't want to pay him. Number two, the law says the shareable revenue, the money shall be considered, the Auditor General, the National Assembly shall consider the most current audited financial statements. But guess what? Because we are uncouth, because we are insincere, because we do not subscribe to the principle of, financial responsibility, we must come of age. we must come of age so that we can be measured among other developing nations. Kenya is slowly developing to becoming a developing nation. The freedoms we have here, the ability for us to raise money. But we must live to that standard. So a time will come when it will make sense to amend the Constitution to ensure that when these companies that are collecting revenue on behalf of county governments do collect the revenue, let them deduct their share, which is agreed upon, and they remit the money. You will notice, Mr. Speaker, that most money will reach to the counties. But currently, when you know that you have to send 100% of the money because the PFM Act Section 109 demands that, and I believe it's Article 217 of the Constitution, when you know, and I want to be correct on that, so that I don't leave anything. Yeah, I think it's 217. I'm correct that. No, 207. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. When you know that when you send the money that you've collected, you now have to go and beg the county governor for you to be paid your services. It becomes, it demoralizes you in the point where you don't even disclose how much money you've been able to collect. In fact, it's Article 207 of the Constitution, which mirrors Section 109 of the Public Finance Management Act. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to reiterate the fact that as a House, all of us, number one, must read this report. Number two, we must always have a sense of occasion. All of us must debate on facts to be able to guide this nation. We must be able to come out and say that whatever we're debating is what a good committee has undertaken. Not always deviating. There's always an urge to deviate and talk about current affairs, politics, talk about regional politics, but it doesn't make sense. What will make sense, Mr. Speaker, is if all of us understand the report being submitted by the committee. The distinguished senators sat, burned the midnight oil to be able to demystify the proposals from the National Assembly. It will only be better for us if we can read them. And after reading them and having a conversation with the members of that committee, I believe, and I've come to a firm belief, that the only way the devolution will work is, one, if we send the 450 billion that we agreed between ODM and KK, or in the worst case scenario, we send money that can be able to take care of the undiscretional expenditures. Number three, we also must make sure that we resolve this quagmire, this confusion. We stop dilly-dallying on the matter of equalization fund. The 26 billion, if we add an additional 7 billion, I don't even support my good friend Senator Eddy by saying he wants 9 billion. If we cannot raise 26 billion, if we are given the 7 billion, it's good enough. But that 7 billion should go and support and raise these communities. Raise these communities. When you continue accumulating debt over debt, it doesn't help. So finally, Mr. Speaker.
Your neighbor, Senator Ede Okech, wants to inform you.
I'd be more than happy to be informed.
Senator Okech?
Mr. Speaker, there is an exchange there. So, Madam Speaker, the Senator of Narok has questioned whether I want this 9 billion to be given to counties instead of the entire amount. What I wanted to inform the Senator is that the structure, and we have been fighting this for over time now, Madam Speaker, the structure of the equalization fund has been that every single year, this money is allocated. The money is allocated, but it never gets to leave the treasury because of a number of reasons, just in the implementation metrics of the equalization fund. So the 26 billion that is already owed, that is quoting, is something that had been allocated and actually been given to the Treasury. It has just never been released accordingly. But in this budgeting, we are saying that this budgeting, the proportionate amount that must go to the equalization fund for this particular finance year is the 9 billion. So the 9 billion is not going to pay debt. The 9 billion is what is rightfully meant for the counties in this financial year. But the debt that is in the Treasury is that the money that is there has been put aside on a special, remember, equalization fund is a special purpose fund, and it has just not been released by the Treasury, and that is what he himself, as my whip, and myself must fight the Treasury to reduce those funds to go and do the work they're supposed to do, because they're never releasing them, but they keep on allocating them. So this is just a commensurate amount to this, tied to this particular financial year, the 9 billion that we are requesting of. It's not necessarily the one to pay the debt. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Eddy. You can proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me appreciate my good friend and neighbor, the distinguished senator from Migori, for informing me. I'm well informed, and that notwithstanding, my argument is very simple, that this amount that we are allocating, yet we cannot be able to spend it before the financial year is over. Madam Speaker, I think I need more time because my clock was running when I was being
Please add
informed.
him a minute. It's the one that was donated to Senator Eddy.
So I'll have like 6 minutes? 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me end by saying the following. That notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, it is imperative that we adhere to Article 201 of the Constitution of Kenya. Openness is very key. Public participation is very key. Let Treasury come in and tell this House, because if you read the Constitution, it mandates the Cabinet Secretary in charge of any department to appraise the National Assembly and the Senate on the workings of their ministry. So let us, it will be good for the Committee of Finance and Budget to now call the Cabinet Secretary here to say, why are we allocating money and you are not spending this money? And that is why I'm arguing that the reason why they are not spending that money is not because that money is there. It is because that money is not there. Let us be realistic. So if we are given 7 billion, let us be happy with it and see whether now we can be able to call for it. And finally, Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate what I said earlier on. I would really want to plead to my colleagues. Please read this report and let us debate and always have a sense of occasion on what we are debating to help Kenya. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Ledama. I have a communication from the chair on visiting teachers and students from Tenwek High School in Bomet County. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from Tenwek High School in Bomet County. The delegation comprises 2 teachers